And we're back with another episode of Before You Buy. You know by now, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest video games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake Baldino, and today we're talking about Death Stranding 2. This is the follow-up to Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions' 2019 game. Here, Sam is back, the world is still a mess, and he's gotta deliver a lot of stuff. It is once again a weird, lengthy, interesting game. And personally, as much as I enjoyed the first Death Stranding, I think Death Stranding 2 is an improvement. In recent years, I've encountered a lot of sequels that I just didn't really end up loving as much as the first game. Thankfully, this time around, I think Death Stranding 2 builds what the first game sets up and runs with it. Whether or not that all lands with you personally, it's going to be up to you. But I've had a lot of fun playing this one, and I got a lot to say. So just so you know, we've been playing a review copy, and all of this footage is captured running on a PS5 Pro and is spoiler-free. So any cutscenes or things you see here are relatively early in the game, or just stuff heavily featured in the marketing. And even there, in the edit, we played it really safe, so I think you're pretty covered. But, just as a little bit of a catch-up, after the events of Death Stranding 1 and narrowly escaping the end of the world, Sam and Baby Lou are hiding out when they're tasked with a new mission to connect another region of the world, just as they did America in the first game. So Sam sets out to do what he does best, which in my mind is just extreme cardio. He's hauling boxes and packages long distances to deliver them, occasionally killing some dudes and some ghosts, but mostly just kind of vibing out in big sprawling landscapes. That's Death Stranding. Now, two things right off the bat. The questions I've gotten the most on social media. Do you need to play Death Stranding 1 before this? I hate to say it, but yeah, probably. The game has a lot of language in describing this world that it kind of just assumes you know. It's a weird world with a bunch of confusing lore and more specifically, a lot of rules. You might be able to pick up a lot of it as you go, but I'd say maybe watch more than one YouTube recap to really get acclimated. The game does actually include a previously on type thing on the main menu, but it's kind of just a big slideshow and it huffs its own farts a little bit too much. Like I said, maybe just watch a YouTube recap. But the other thing is that, look, if you didn't like the first game, if you thought it was weird or boring or a walking simulator or whatever, you're still probably not gonna like this one. The playability is significantly improved, but the reality is still that Death Stranding didn't change what it is to capture more audience. It's still, at the end of the day, a quirky delivery game through and through. So if the first one wasn't for you, I don't know if this one will change enough for you. But with that out of the way, for fans of the first game, this one does really kind of go balls to the wall. It's just more fun, straight up. More tools, more deliveries, bigger battles, better combat and stealth, cool bosses, and just interesting, bigger feeling worlds. It's not apparent right away though. I'll be completely honest, the first few hours felt extremely samey. Same flow. Bring a package to a similar looking building you've seen a bunch of times in the first game. The same animation from the first game plays where Sam places the packages and links up the chiral network. You've done it a million times. You've talked to a hologram, you then take a nap in the room, you take a shower. Bar for bar, it felt too similar where I was actually kind of thinking to myself, what were they making for the last 5 years? But then after a while, the improvements rear their head, and I realize the substantial changes, right? Essentially, the core delivery stuff, that whole loop, is the same, but with some streamlined elements and more fun stuff added in to make it more compelling and just fresh enough, as well as just better pacing overall, which made a difference. Whereas in Death Stranding 1, it felt like you'd go hours talking to holograms in basements, just kind of begging for a big story moment until the game suddenly decides to dump an hour-long cutscene onto you. Here in Death Stranding 2, the adventure, to me, just felt well-paced. You're still free to do deliveries however you want, take on optional ones, and grind stuff out, of course, but the game just does a better job introducing consistent story moments and some immediacy to some of the big deliveries and the long treks that you're making. And that just made a huge difference to me. Less characters are just calling you up while you're out in the field now to just give you expository dialogue now. So it is a little quieter moment to moment, but then you're often just rewarded with way more interesting stuff happening consistently. And I've mentioned streamlining, but it's done in a way that doesn't cut out what made these games special. It's still a clunky game by nature, but much has been done to make navigating menus, planning routes, and managing cargo much better. you're loading into vehicles quicker, you're clicking less things on menus. There's still a lot, but like you're clicking less things, you're organizing quicker, you're cycling through things quicker. It just makes the game feel smoother and enables you to more easily do the things you want to do. You're getting useful tech and tools much earlier this time around. So the simple walking and climbing more quickly fades to riding vehicles and using zip lines and a monorail and all this crazy shit. So while yes, you lose some of the tension early on of just climbing a mountain and hoping you don't trip and fall, you get to more easily take advantage of stuff that was kind of later in the first game. There's also this new weather pattern system that can make things more difficult, sometimes during story missions, but also randomly on a delivery. Weather is like a trackable system in the game now, and during intense rain, rivers are going to flood and rise, like making traversal more difficult or washing away old bridges that you built. Sandstorms make it hard to see, and wind drains your stamina quicker. There's even an element of fire in the game. These are really well done and just fun to see play out. And having them force you to change your strategies in real time and improvise is just a good way of shaking things up. In fact, I actually wish there was even more of it here. Now, along with this, like I had kind of alluded to before, the game does a really good job doling out tools to you as you make deliveries. The loop is just, once again, oddly addictive if it clicks with you. You want to go big, you know? You want to load up as many packages as you can. You want to fill your car and venture out with that challenging delivery because every earned, unlocked tool is useful. Faster exoskeleton legs, better weapons, more tools for stealth, more battery storage, you name it. I just found it more rewarding this time. Even if last time around the hikes were more arduous and I was begging for help, in Death Stranding 2, I was just happy to grind for the next fun thing. Like an improved thing to build out in the field and leave for people, or like an interesting silenced weapon, or like these decoy hologram throwable grenade things. Plus, there's more stat tracking as well as a good skill tree here that has useful upgrades you can unlock with these earned points. Think like better detection radius, improved battery charging, and a bunch of other stuff. And this is along with new backpack and vehicle upgrades that are just way more thought out and in-depth this time around. Now, you can probably tell by what I've mentioned, but there are way more opportunities for combat and stealth in Death Stranding 2. Keep in mind, I played the original Death Stranding at launch, before all the updates where they gave you a bunch of tools and automated stuff and, you know, these different things. So I didn't really like combat in the first game, and I mostly avoided it where I could because it just felt clunky and weird, like the game had this identity crisis. This time around, combat is much smoother. Now, I'll admit, like, you're still a goofy guy with a bunch of boxes on your back, and you're still rummaging through all your boxes for an assault rifle, but it's just way smoother this time around in terms of feel and also enemy encounter design. You can really scout ahead much better. You can mark enemies, take advantage of tall grass, and lots of stealth tools. It's fun to sneak around. There's definitely a lot more you can do with it. It's no Metal Gear Solid 5, but I still appreciate it. And when things inevitably fall apart and you gotta go loud, taking advantage of guns feels way stronger this time around, thanks to just more interesting weapons, number one, and better control and feedback to them. A lot of this is optional, so if you like Death Stranding as more of just like a delivery thing, that's still the case here. You can be peaceful and try and avoid conflict, but there are certain moments where combat is required, including some good boss battles, and it just feels better and honestly more confident this time around. And this is where there's just some good Hideo Kojima stuff I love, dude. And like, you guys should know if you've been watching for a long time now, like, I am biased. I am a Hideo Kojima fanboy since Metal Gear Solid 1, but like, in these big moments, you're getting tense music, cool soldiers, interesting art direction and design, badass robots, some over-the-top action set-piece moments. Some of it feels extremely, maybe overly referential to Death Stranding 1, but there's still plenty of cool, unique moments. Unfortunately, creeping around BTs just doesn't quite hit as hard as it did in the first game. I found these sections much easier, for the most part. The BTs are easier to see, their detection, even less than it was last time around, and just nowhere near the same level of tension to it all. Maybe it's just because I'm more familiar with this world and the threats, I don't know, but they just felt nerfed. And speaking of returning elements, it's still fun to build roads, it's fun to use a bridge that someone else built and give them a thumbs up. All that Strand-type world building out here is still compelling with some fun remixes, and couple that with having way more tech and tools earlier on, like I said, it just makes it feel like you're really taking advantage of everything the game has. Like, end game level play of Death Stranding 1 feels like the inspiration here. I like playing in this world, and I liked it more than the first game. I liked pursuing and seeing through the story in this world. Now, does the story land? I think that's going to be extremely subjective. It's not an open and shut case. Some characters are introduced with a lot of fanfare and take up a lot of time and end up not really feeling very important. And some of the more interesting story threads I was hoping to see pursued weren't really as in-depth as I wanted. It also, kind of like I said, references or almost retreads or recreates some stuff from the previous game, and I'm not sure to what effect or what they were going for. Look, it's hard to talk about this stuff without spoiling, but while the story isn't perfect, it did a great job of keeping me playing. Even if it had weird spots that didn't quite land, I still wanted to keep playing to see what happens next. And the high points are absolutely some of the coolest shit I've seen in a video game in a long time. Now, smaller note, I really liked Sam this time around. He's a more active participant in the events, and I think it really helped the story quite a bit. He's still a man of few words, you know, he's not like this overly chatty guy, but he's got more agency, he's a little cooler, and just more interesting. He's not just a vessel for the player, someone who just weirdly stands around while exposition rolls in and he doesn't really say anything. Now, he just feels well thought out and significant. Plus, he's even more customizable, and the graphics are good enough now that he just looks like a real guy. The visuals are nuts. It's almost uncanny. So Death Stranding 2 is extremely familiar while also massively improved in a lot of ways. Gameplay is more fun and more immediately gripping. The story, while not perfect, is way better paced and more engaging. I think fans of the original will really enjoy this and appreciate some of the gameplay updates. And honestly, just to be back in this cool, weird world where people dying is like a nuclear event, where the rain ages you if it hits your skin, where some people have superpowers for no reason, where you can expect to turn a corner and see a weird celebrity cameo in the game, the Metal Gear Solid inspirations, the lighter moments, a lot of levity, and a lot of weird, dark, creepy shit. Hiking around, adventuring, being exposed to cool new music by real-world artists, stumbling upon weird surprises, and leaving help for other players behind you. I think Death Stranding 2 succeeds. Like the first game, it's not for everyone, but I think that's by design. And that's okay. If it is for you, I think you're gonna have a hell of a good time. But that's a before you buy. You know how this goes by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion. And now I want to hear yours down in the comments. Are you someone who was into Death Stranding 1? Did you jump on right away? Did you maybe play it later on with a re-release and updates and stuff like that? What's your experience? Were you looking forward to the second one? Or do you hate these games? You'll probably let us know either way. But let's talk about anything Death Stranding 2 or Kojima Productions and Hideo Kojima down in the comments. If you like this video, you know, seeing some gameplay, maybe it helped you out, informed you, clicking a like button legitimately helps us out. Thank you. But that's it. I'm Jake Baldino. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
Ah!